meetings. Some of you received notifications that we had the meeting scheduled, then notification that it was canceled, and then notification that came out, I think, 19 minutes ago from WebEx that we were back on. So we are back. And let's begin where we left off with regard to the Parents' Bill of Rights, that we had asked to have contents moved into Senate Bill 58. Just a moment.
Pass out the House's balloon amendment.
Sure.
Okay, Chairman. The intent was the Senate had asked for a clean Parents' Bill of Rights. So what we did was do a technical cleanup and add back in the informed of that was removed on page 1. If you go to page 2, adding the informed of on lines 21, and added the definition for parents inside it. Also notice on the back side in lines 21 through 25, there were good comments about we don't want tests or examinations. We don't want any confusion that those would have to be included. Certainly a school district could make a policy where they could show the exam to a parent, but it wouldn't have to be displayed anywhere. So if you see the red line, lessons is taken out, tests and examinations. So that is the House offer for Senate Bill 496.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We will take that in consideration. And are there any questions on this balloon amendment from committee members? Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question, have the ability to inspect any materials. I think having that in there, could it possibly cause confusion and feel like lessons and tests and examinations are part of that or do we have a definition of any materials somewhere else in the bill?
Where do you want to? We'll have Tamara answer that.
The balloon you have in front of you only provides one definition, and that would be for the term parent. It does not define any other terms that are used in the underlying bill.
So if I may, I think as a parent, I could look at this and go to the school and say any materials, activities, or curriculum, and I could demand a test technically with this language.
So since it doesn't define instructional materials, is the list on the second page. To inspect any materials activity. Go ahead. Yes.
So I just want to clarify that the part that we're looking at on page 2 is part of subsection D. And so this is requiring Board of Educations of each school district to develop and adopt policies that include policies and procedures for a parent to have the ability to inspect these types of materials. So there could be some different policies adopted by different school districts as to what those terms mean and how they're used.
All right. Thank you for the clarification. So therefore, a individual district could make that determination of what that means.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We will take that into consideration. Now let's move to an update with regard to the language for the component of substitute for House Bill 2512 language. Did you want to speak to the consideration with regard to math funding?
Yes, we do have an offer with that, taking in consideration the proposal that was brought from the Senate, which would be to use some of the ARPA's Sparks money. What we did was use the general idea and take $3 million for the production of the actual program and, you know, putting it with standards, and then using the implementation money with the school district. So that would be a 50-50 split, with the majority being on the ARPA funding in 2023. So that's $3 million. And any remaining amount of money would be fee for service as proposed originally in 2512. And then the following year, again, upholding the Senate version, which was a 2-year contract, would include the $2 million for any additional fees that may, fee for service.
Are there questions with regard to that? With regard to the revisor, are you able to get that language in working with our folks for the Spark money?
I know that our team downstairs is working on language like that, and I believe we're working towards it, and we're getting there.
Okay, so for a point of clarification, will that be included into the language in this bill, or would that be put in the budget bill? I understand.
It's just 2567.
Okay. So, not seeing any further questions, we will take that into consideration. Let's move on to, you had made mention of the Senate survey amendment language that we had provided the last time we met.
If you would say that one more time.
Yes, you had indicated just a few minutes ago, you had made mention of the Senate survey amendment language. Did you have a request for that?
Yes, we do. Would you provide the balloon, Nick? This balloon amendment is going to look very familiar because you guys did a great job. It's identical to what was presented, and it is for non-academic tests administered during the school day, and parents would have knowledge of these tests and would provide affirmation of approval of those tests at least 4 months before those tests were taken. It would also have to be, these social emotional learning surveys would need to be included on the school website. And so that is our amendment for 2567 on this item.
Did you have a start date for that?
Yes, it should be July. Actually, I'm not sure if it's in there. Nick, it was in the base bill, but I'm not sure if it's in this.
Most of the provisions in House Bill 2567 would be delayed to July 1 of 2022. The appropriation provisions would be essentially Kansas Register, since there are supplemental appropriations, but all the substantive provisions, unless otherwise provided, would be July 1, 2022.
The only thing that would need to be uploaded would be those surveys.
And it would simply be the surveys that they know of ahead of time. Is that correct?
Nick, would that be correct?
So yes, these would be the surveys that they would be notifying parents in advance prior to them taking those surveys. So they would be known in advance.
So if a survey was produced later in the year, they could simply add it to the website and provide notification to parents. There would be nothing to prohibit them from that, correct?
And under this law, they'd have to get written consent from the parents prior to administering that survey. So
the piece where they upload it on the website could be any time, depending on when they.
Yes, it's just this provision just says prior to the administration of any of those types of surveys or questionnaires. So.
Okay, perfect.
Senator Sykes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is not being put in Senate Bill 58, but added to 2567?
Correct.
And why is that?
Because we thought that it had a better place with the overall budget bill. And it's something that's really important, that we want to be sure that surveys are provided to parents first. We want parents to be involved in their children's education and to have access to these.
And I understand that. The whole Parents' Bill of Rights, which I still have yet to have examples of anyone in Kansas having a problem asking for this information and not getting it, even though I have repeatedly asked for that. So I guess I'm having a hard time understanding how this actually is part of a Parents' Bill of Rights, and so why it would not be in that language and instead in the budget policy piece.
Well, I will clarify that actually we do have testimony both in the House and our interim committee where a parent was denied access to view the curriculum. They were told that it was copyrighted and were not allowed. Later, months later, they kept pushing and they were given an appointment with an administrator and they brought out a curriculum that was 10 years old. So yes, it is an issue. In addition to that, this is not part of it, but the reason it came up is because every school district, some provide access, some do not, some you can find the curriculum, some you cannot. There's no uniformity. Your Parents' Bill of Rights does not correct that uniformity. It's not the House version, but there is a need for that. And many parents do want access to the surveys. And we have seen the surveys. My committee has taken the surveys, and we think it's important that parents see it. If parents see it and they're good with it, then the kids should take it.
So I guess you're making my point. Why would you not put this in the Parents' Bill of Rights?
Frankly, it doesn't matter where it is. It just needs to pass into law.
So my question, why did you take it out of the Parents' Bill of Rights? And that was, I think, what was on the table.
Okay, so if you recall the last time we met at 1:30, the offer was to be taken. The Senate wanted a clean bill. They wanted a Parents' Bill of Rights that was clean. And so we wanted to honor that request. And so we pulled it. Your Parents' Bill of Rights never had a transparency portal on it. Ours did. And so yours passed your floor. Ours did not. So we are using your bill, keeping it whole with some technical changes and taking the provision that the House and many others believes is important and putting it into the larger bill. So that's the reasoning.
Okay, I agree. Ours did not have a portal, but it did say that it had to be available on the website. And again, I would love to see that testimony because when we had it in our committee, it was an example in Rhode Island. So would love to see that testimony of a Kansas person because yet again, I have not seen that. I get email after email. Actually, when we were debating this on the Senate floor, I had 3 emails in the time we were debating this from my child's school about activities that were happening on school and information about the curriculum. But again,
Holly can send that to you.
Thank you.
Representative Owsley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for the senator, having sat on that K-12 committee and listened to that testimony, as memory serves me, that request was for DE&I training for faculty. It wasn't for anything to do with the students.
It was second step. It was for the child.
Again, I'm looking forward to reading that testimony.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. We will take that into consideration. Let's talk about what is outstanding with regard to the Promise Act.
So with the Promise Act, we went back and double checked the original language. It did say that residency after they complete the program, and they needed to not only work in Kansas for 2 years, but live in Kansas for 2 years. And we needed to double check that it was in there. And so we wanted to hold the House position, which was out-of-state residents would be authorized to be included in the scholarship program.
Okay, so you are sticking with your out-of-state residents, even though the requirement to live and work in Kansas for 2 years upon completion was in the original base bill from last year.
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, we will take that into consideration. And now let's go. I think the last outstanding issue has to do with the conversation about what was approved there. I think at the rail, it was House Bill 2747. Originally, we heard that there were 3 words that needed to be changed. At least that was what was voted on in House Bill 2747. Did you have a response to that?
Yes, we wanted to go back to our offer or second offer on that, which was and other programs that were bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. And we have an amendment that includes the language.
So a quick question. There's been a lot bantered around that there was a meeting and that was voted on by a particular board as far as the language, that it would be 3 words. These are not the 3 words that were passed in House Bill 2747. So who has approved this language now?
So the reason it was changed is because I think there was concern that K-State might be offering some associate degrees, and we wanted to clarify that. The information that we received was a board, and I'm not familiar with the Johnson County KSU Triangle entity, but the board approved it unanimously. So I'm assuming it might be the board that you were on, and perhaps it was a day you were not there. But an attorney also spoke and told them that language was required. It was necessary. That was the information that we received.
Senator Sykes.
Thank you. This was not voted on by the entire board. I believe it was an attorney and 1 member of that board having this conversation. We meet twice a year in October and April. Again, we're meeting in a couple of weeks. And this may be great, but this is only dealing with one of the members of the Johnson County Research Triangle that also has University of Kansas and the University of Kansas Medical Center. And I have not heard from the members. I represent KU on that board. And so yesterday was the first time I've actually heard of this language. So again, I think, if we met as a board and we're able to look at this in April and come back and deal with this in omnibus, but it is only, and nothing against K-State. I think this could be absolutely fine, but the JCERT board has not approved this.
Well, I will clarify, perhaps I misunderstood, but I will say this has been something that has been discussed with leadership with those individuals that you're speaking of from the various universities. So however it was relayed to me is not really important. The important thing is that the conversations with leadership were firm that this language was needed. It should not be delayed. It's not based on my understanding or my interpretation of it. This is the desire and agreement between leadership on this offer. This is not something I know of extensively personally, but this is an agreement with leadership on this item.
Okay, any additional questions or conversation about this particular balloon amendment?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, we will take that into consideration. I know that we are to be on the, is it on the floor or in caucus at 7? So we'll be on the floor at 7. When are you on the floor?
7:30. I think we could be back at 8 if you wanted to meet again.
Okay, let's go ahead and set that meeting for 8 o'clock, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.